Hi everyone, welcome back for another Lawn Fawn Fans video hop. Today's hop features Valentine's Day cards. This is a peek at the card I'll be creating. There is a giveaway over on Carrie Rhodes' channel. Please make sure you stop at each participant's channel, leave a comment, like their video, and if you like what you see, subscribe. Here's a look at the products I'm using. I have these sprinkles from Scrappy Tail Crafts, some distress inks, and then I will be using this Nuvo Arctic paste. I also have the Beary Rainy Day stamp set from Lawn Fawn. I have had this in my collection for over a year and haven't used it, and so I thought today was a great day for that. I'm using the Hugs and Kisses die from MFT. I have stitched hearts from Sunny Studios. I have quilted hearts. I'll be using the Skinny Mini banners, and then my sentiment is going to come from the Sprinkled with Joy. I did end up using the Lots of Hearts stencil from Lawn Fawn, and you'll see that shortly. I'm going to start by stamping onto some Copic friendly paper. This is Copic Express It paper using Brutus Monroe's Black Raven ink. This ink is perfect for Copic coloring or for watercoloring, which makes it a great black ink if you don't have one. I'm going to stamp this a couple of times. I really didn't prep my stamps. Typically I'll use my Tombow sand eraser and I'll just go over my stamps and wipe them off before I stamp them, but I didn't do it on this occasion, so that's why I had to stamp it a couple of times to make sure that I got a really nice impression. I'm going to be doing just a little bit of Copic coloring. I won't be sharing the yellows. I'm just going to share the Mama Bear actually, and I did add some white gel pen to the coat of the baby bear as well as to the umbrella, and I'm going to apologize because I did not capture that on camera. I thought I hit record, but apparently I didn't. Let's start with our coloring. I'm using some vibrant pinks, so I have RV4, 6, and 9. I'm going to preface this by saying that my RV6 pen needs a brand new tip. It's worn out, and so I did have a little bit of a struggle using that, but I really love this color combination. We're moving into spring here shortly, and I am ready for some bright colors. When I do my Copic coloring, I do like to add shadows, and that's going to be with my darkest pen, which is going to be the RV9. I'm going to add it to the where the overlap would be for the buttoning of the coat, underneath the neck, underneath the arms, and then on the left and the right side of that coat. I will blend it out with my mid-tone, which again was that RV6, and then I go over it again with my RV4. When I was doing the detail for my umbrella, I had this bright idea that I would add both stripes and polka dots to the umbrella, and once I added the stripes, I really didn't like it, so I'm just going to point that out here. I thought that it would be kind of cute to have different details on different areas of the umbrella, but rather than go back and recolor everything and start again, I just went ahead and went with it. So for the bear, I am using my E40 markers. I colored the entire face and body with my E40. My darkest color is an E44. I'll blend it out with an E43 and an E42. I did use an R2 to color all of the cheeks on all of my bears. While I'm doing this little bit of coloring, I did want to mention that I will have a link to the next person in the hop as well as the entire hop list in my description box below. Please make sure that you stop at each participant's channel. If you like what you see, we would absolutely love for you to subscribe. Also, leave us a message and let us know that you appreciated this hop. Carrie Rhodes is doing a giveaway on her channel. She's giving away a $25 gift card to Lawn Fawn. I did want to mention that, so you don't want to miss out on that. Moving on to my background, I do have a 4 by 5¼ inch piece of glossy cardstock. I added picked raspberry and kitsch flamingo to my, that came from my Tim Holtz glass mat. And then you can see that I just am doing a tapping motion into that ink and water. In between each of the layers, I do heat it and dry it with my heat tool. You don't want to continue adding layers onto wet cardstock because you're eventually just going to mix the colors together and not see any variation. So the best way to do that is to dry in between applications. And so I went over it a second time using just the kitsch flamingo to add a little bit more of that pink as opposed to the neon pink from the picked raspberry. This is the Lots of Hearts stencil. This is the first layer, and I'm adding the kitsch flamingo to this. And then for my second layer, I am going to add that Glacier paste from Nuvo. This one is called Frosted Petal. It's a beautiful pink pearlized color. I absolutely love this glaze. You do want to make sure once you've finished applying your Glacier paste to your stencil that you do take it over to the sink and wash it immediately because it will ruin your stencil. I did want to mention, I just apologize. I'm so sorry about my voice. I have been super sick all week. I have been waiting and putting off this voiceover, hoping that my voice would get better, and it hasn't. So my apologies for my raspy voice today. I used the two hearts from MFT. I placed them together and it gave me this frame for my shaker. I've added double-sided tape and I'm just removing the backing. I took the largest heart and cut it out using my acetate, and that is what's going to hold all of my little shaker bits. Now you can see that the very top of that heart has a very fine line. It's very thin, and in order for me to get foam tape in there, Scrapbook.com does have some great 1/8" foam tape, and so that is what I am using to create the well for my shaker. You do want to make sure that you add that foam tape. I'm adding mine in 2 layers to make sure that I can get lots of movement because these little bits from Scrappy Tail Crafts are on the thicker side. So there are some kind of like clay hearts, and then there are also jewels, and so there's a little bit of dimension that is going on with these sprinkles that I'm adding to the interior of the heart. In order to get that tape to move nicely, I do remove the backing paper and it will allow me to get that heart shape. If you leave the backing paper on, it is much more difficult to make those turns with that double-sided foam tape than if you had taken the tape off. So I have layer number 1 on here, and now we're going to add layer number 2. It's important when you're finishing with these layers that you use your anti-static tool on the inside edge of this foam tape. So I'm going to run it off camera along the inside edge very heavy-handedly. And by adding that powder, it's just going to prevent your shaker pieces from sticking. So there's my dried panel. I do have another piece of raspberry colored cardstock that's been cut to 4¼ by 5½ inches. I'm using my, I actually have art glitter glue inside a Barely Art bottle. So I am using my art glitter glue to adhere my stenciled panel to my card panel. And now we're going to move on to creating our shaker element. This is the easiest way for me to create a shaker element. I'm really bad at centering things, so I cut a heart from that same raspberry cardstock, and then I used the Sunny Studios Quilted Hearts embossing folder to emboss that heart. I am going to add my sprinkle bits to the inside of this and make sure that I have them spread out nice and even, just to make sure that I don't have any bulk when I put my heart over the top of it. So I'm going to add some of that glue to the foam tape, and then I'll add my heart to the back of it. And for me, this is just the surefire way for me to be able to get a shaker element centered onto my card. There are people out there who are really good at centering things. Not me. I'm not one of those people. So this is the easiest way for me to put a shaker element together. Inside that pack of shaker bits, there are these little pink diamonds, and I took the very smallest ones and added them as the buttons to the raincoat for the mama bear, just to tie in those shaker bits. And you can see right there where I tried to add the stripes to the umbrella, and I really shouldn't have. That's my only regret on this card. I love the way this card turned out, but that was a regret. So as you can see, I did die cut my hugs and kisses. I die cut it 3 times, and then I stacked them on each other to give me a little bit of a chipboard feel. To add my bear with the umbrella, I am making sure that I have the foam tape on the areas that aren't going to be touching that heart. That heart already has foam tape on it, and in order for my bear to lay flat, I do need to add that same dimension of foam tape to the areas that aren't touching the heart. And because there's 2 layers of foam tape on the heart, I want that same dimension on the bear, just so it lays flat. So I did add 2 layers to that, and I'll add 2 layers to the baby bear as well. I'm going to adhere my heart down, get that centered onto my card panel. I really love this stamp set. I have seen so many adorable cards using this stamp set, and I just have not had a lot of time. One of my goals this year is to use products twice, so I am going to come back with a second video using this same, what's it called? Beary Rainy Day stamp set. As you could see in the beginning of the video, I did color all of the pieces, so I do have these pre-colored in the yellow, the other bears that I didn't use on this card. I'm going to add that hugs and kisses underneath my bears, and then I'm going to trim off the edges where my stenciled paper ends. So that's going to be at the, it'll be about 4 inches wide. There are little tiny clay hearts, as I mentioned earlier. I'm going to add them to the top of the bear's hand, kind of like the bear is blowing kisses. The baby bear is blowing kisses to the mama bear. And I want to add 2 layers deep of the hearts. So I'm going to glue 2 hearts on top of each other for a total of 6 hearts that are going to blow across the pages, and I thought that that just added just a little bit more sweetness to the card. For my sentiment, I did stamp it off camera using Distress Oxide ink in Picked Raspberry. I used the sentiment from the Sprinkled with Joy stamp set, so it's going to say sprinkled with hugs and kisses. I cut it out using one of the banner dies that I shared at the beginning of this video, and once I get this adhered, that will complete my card for today. So I'm going to add it to a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch top folding card panel. I want to thank you so much for joining us today. Please don't forget to check the description box for the next person in the hop. Show them a little bit of love. I hope you enjoyed my card for today, and I hope to see you back here again soon. Until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day. Thanks so much for joining me.